What's going on, everybody? This is Sean of Raw Select Music, and today I want to do another label love video for everyone. So, I've done Street Corner Music before, which I think they're one of the best instrumental hip-hop labels. And I've talked about Now Again Records. I think they're one of the best reissue labels. So let's talk about one of my favorite deep house record labels. And that record label would be these guys right here, Heist Recordings. Out of all the record labels that I have, or records from a specific record label that I have, Heist Recordings actually remains the king. I have over 19 records from this one label alone. And as much as I love record labels like Street Corner Music, Stone's Throw, Now Again, and any other record label that I can't think of off the top of my head, for whatever reason, Heist Recordings has dominated my collection in terms of just sheer volume. And I also have to say, in terms of quality, Heist Recordings has a really, really good track record. Out of all the releases that they've put out and all the releases that I own, I don't think they've put out a bad record yet. They range basically from pretty damn good to absolutely essential. But because I have 19 records from their catalog, going through every one of them is just too much of a giant pain in the ass. So I thought for today's label love video, I'm going to make it a little bit of a hybrid. I want to sort of gush about how much I love this label and also give you my top 5 favorite Heist Recording tracks, which if you want to hear these songs for yourself, as always, head into the description. You can head over to my WordPress blog and my Steemit blog, because that's where I will put the music links so you can check these songs out for yourself. So, with that rambly long introduction out of the way, let's get into... Let me grab this stack real quick. Let's get into these guys. Now, a few things before I get into this list, and it seems like everybody has to say this, use this disclaimer anytime that they make a top 5. This is just my list. And if there's any selection that I've picked that you disagree with, let me know down in the comments in a civil and respectful manner. And I'd love to know which records I should be checking out, because I know there's a ton of releases for one reason or another I haven't picked up, and I definitely know there's a bunch that I still need to get in the future. I'm going to be excluding remixes. A lot of, especially the newer releases, have a lot of remixes from other artists. And I want to focus mainly on giving shine time to artists from the label. But that also means that I'm going to be excluding anything from the excellent, highly recommended Roundup series that Heist Recordings puts out every single year. I still need to get number 4. And I'm only going to be talking about tracks from records that I have in my collection. So anything that I've heard recently through their YouTube channel or on SoundCloud, I am not going to be including, just strictly because I don't feel like I've fully internalized a track that I don't actually own on a physical medium, because I'm weird like that. So with those, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's get into these guys, and let me tell you what my top 5 favorite Heist Recording tracks are. Number 5 is going to go to Just Not Norma on the Can't Hold It EP that was released last year by Detroit Swindle. And what really makes this one of my personal favorite tracks, it has to be the presence of Mark DeClive Lowe's live, jazzy, synthy keyboard solos that are peppered throughout the track. The track itself is really solid and is yet another Detroit Swindle track that shows that they're moving away from their old filter house beginnings and moving more towards a synth electronic-based sound. Now, there's still a pretty strong beat to this. There's a strong groove to it. I really, really like the way that the hi-hats sound on here. But really, what it comes down to at the end of the day is just that absolutely incredible keyboard work by Mark de Clive Lowe. And if you did not check this track out, this is a great balance between a track that is fun to listen to, but also seemingly should work pretty well on the dance floor. I wouldn't know because I have not successfully mixed it well into a DJ set, and I have crashed many a dance floor with this track. I still don't care. I love this. So my number 5 pick goes to Just Not Norma featuring Mark de Clive Lowe by Detroit Swindle from the Can't Hold It EP. Check this one out if you haven't. So I think one of the adjectives I forgot to use in describing Just Not Norma is colorful. And the reason I just remembered that is it relates to my number 4 favorite, which is, what is that? Child of the Universe off the Fritz Wentink Rising Sun Fallen Coconut EP. This song is just like, it's playful, it's colorful, it's energetic. It feels nostalgic, but it doesn't feel like it's patronizing in any way. It's kind of understated too. There's almost a minimalist approach to the way this song sounds. And it doesn't feel like it's like an amalgamation of a bunch of different elements coming together to form a track. You can really separate the bass line, the synth, the drums. And despite that, it works really, really well. And for a genre that sometimes can take itself overly serious, I love any instance where an artist decides not to take themselves very seriously. And if you've never checked out this EP, this whole EP is fantastic, especially the title track. But I have to say, I think Child of the Universe is my number 4 pick, and one of my favorite playful deep house tracks. Number 3 I had to think about a little bit, because I wanted to cover with this list a pretty wide spectrum of Heist Recordings, because they've had a lot of different releases, and I think they've had a lot of different phases throughout their sort of short lifespan so far. They sort of started off as a filter house label using a lot of old disco and funk samples and old jazz samples, and they've sort of moved in more of an electronic sound over the years. But I think one of the best examples of the sort of bridge between the more sample-heavy stuff and their sort of current, more electronic direction, which is not to say that all of their releases lean one way or the other. I think that has to go to my number 3 pick off of the Kill Frenzy EP, Fuchs Kill Frenzy. There's just something about the energy on this. There's nothing particularly original. I wouldn't say it's like the most unique track that's ever come out, but I don't think anyone on the label has done a track like this since the release of this record. Not even Fook. And that's saying a lot, because I absolutely love their With Lasers EP. But I'll get into this in a little bit. Why do I love this Kill Frenzy track? It's got a great jazzy vibe to it. It has some absolutely thumping drums that feel like they were taken off of an obscure jazz record. I love the atmosphere on it. I love the little breakdowns in it. I love the attention to detail. It's just dark enough and just moody enough that it grabs my attention. But I also feels like it feels like you could put this in if you placed it well into a DJ set, you could play this at any time of the night and get people to go nuts to it. There's a lot of energy on it. I don't know what else to say about this record. I know this was sold out in Japan for a long period of time, and immediately when it popped back into stock, I grabbed it before it eventually sold out again. And I'm really glad I did, because I really think this is a landmark release for Heist Recordings. So Fuchs, Kill Frenzy, if you haven't picked this guy up, highly recommend it, and definitely my top, it's definitely well-deserved at my number 3 pick on this top 5. My number 2 track goes to a track that I wish I could play out more often, because it's a lot slower than most people usually play in town, but it doesn't stop me from loving this track. And that is Jungle featuring Andy Hart from Max Graves' Broken Keyboard EP. It's real percussive heavy. There's lots of like tribal drums, but it's not like one of those really cheesy tribal drum heavy house tracks that I know a lot of you will probably know what I'm talking about. It's got a great kick to it. It's got some interesting broken sounding keys on it, and it's just quirky enough that it fits in line with a lot of Max Graves productions, which hopefully he'll release another record on Heist Recordings at some point in the future. And I don't really know what else to say about this track other than it's got energy, it's got a nice groove to it, it's got a nice kick to it, it's got a great attention to detail with the way that the drums are played, and apparently I actually had a lot more to say about this record than I thought I did. But yeah, number 2, definitely this guy. If you haven't heard this track, this is definitely one of my favorite Max Grave productions, and it's one of my favorite records on Heist Recordings. Definitely grab this if you can still pick it up somewhere. As it goes with a lot of these lists, I usually pick my number 1 track or number 1 album as the one that usually brings me to the party, the one that gets me interested in something in the first place. So, keeping that trend alive, my number 1 has to go to the very first record released on Heist Recordings in 2013, Detroit Swindle's Breakup to Makeup EP. So, both of these tracks are absolute dance floor destroyers. So much energy, great breakdowns. Both of them do some real tasteful sampling of some old disco tracks, and are probably some of the best modern examples of deep house producers sampling old disco tracks. I love the energy on this. I love listening to this song. I love playing it for people. It always gets the crowd going. And if you're really looking for any record to get you into the label and start exploring, whether or even Detroit Swindle in general, can't recommend this record enough. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this guy. Yeah, Breakup to Makeup. This is a modern classic. Absolutely love this, and this is easily my number 1 favorite track from Heist Recordings. While those are my top 5 favorite tracks so far from Heist Recordings, I do feel like that really only skims the surface of some of the great music that's been released on Heist Recordings. Whether it's Detroit Swindle's other releases, like the In Reverse EP, which is another great EP, and it's got some really good, more electronic stuff, as well as some more filtered sample stuff. The Circular City EP, definitely a little bit more on the electronic end of the spectrum. Really love this record. Both Nebraska releases are absolutely phenomenal. I love Soften the Wireless EP, which is one of the more disco releases from the label, and also the Metaphor to the Floor EP this will get any dance floor moving. Absolutely love this. The only reason this guy did not make the list is I feel like I need to spend a little bit more time with it before I sort of decide whether it'd probably be number 6 is basically what I'm saying. Fuchs with Lasers EP, also fantastic. Some real good up-tempo shit on this one. The Brame and Hamo, Parish Rumors EP. Some moodier stuff, some more atmospheric stuff, but also really good. Love Hot Shot on this one. The Mono EP, yeah, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that. Has one of my favorite songs, Delaware State Route, and is easily one of the more techno-y sounding tracks from the label. The First Detour, is another more techno-y side of Heist Recordings. This is also a really, really good one. And I don't know, I just really like that green. And then most recently, I grabbed the Adest Versions Push It Along EP. And if I had extended this out to a top 10, I probably would have put E2E. I probably would have put E to E on this. I thought it was Push It Along, but it's actually E to E. This is some great sort of throwback house that's not too retro sounding, but still invokes like a sort of nostalgic feeling. So all you old school house heads that need your 808s and your 303s and your 606 sounds, it's got a little bit of something for everybody on there. Much like everything on Heist Recordings. So, with that list out of the way, I want to say thank you very much for watching. If you didn't see a record or a track that you're into, let me know what I should be checking out down in the comments down below. I know there's a whole slew of releases that I haven't picked up yet for one reason or another, largely because they sell out really fast in Japan, but I probably will get around to them in the future. And as I stated before, I just finished a recent Raw Select radio, and I played a lot of tracks from my Heist Recordings collection, so you can check that out for yourself over at Mixcloud, D-Sound, and it is up on my SoundCloud and available for download for a limited time only. I don't have a pro account, so I rarely upload to SoundCloud, but I'm going to try to make a habit of maybe every other month switching out a Raw Select radio so you can grab it that way, because I know for especially myself, I don't like using my data to stream music. I prefer to download it and have it to listen to it at my own leisure. So head into the description, you can check it out for yourself. And as always, head over to my WordPress and Steemit blogs, because that's where I will be putting the YouTube links so you can check out the tracks from my top 5 list and listen to them for yourself. Thank you very much for watching. I will try to get another video up next week, and who knows what I'll be talking about next week. I might even talk about that This Is America video that everybody's going on about. I've got opinions about that one too, but we'll see. I never know what I'm going to do next. Usually just depends on my mood. But I will say thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, peace out!